Welcome to the dynamic learning hub of ExcelR at Andheri East. A prime spot conveniently located at just a 5-minute walk from LIC Andheri Metro. In our journey of over a decade, we have proudly trained over 2 lakh students. We have also been recognized by Deloitte, Silicon India, and other accreditation bodies. Experience learning like never before in our spacious and comfortable classrooms. With high-definition projectors and state-of-the-art acoustics in place, we ensure effective learning even to the farthest point in the room. The hybrid mode is a game changer as you can enjoy the benefits of a live classroom from the comfort of your home. Even if you happen to miss any classroom session, you can still attend the same session with the same trainer at the same time at your convenience, maintaining consistency in your learning progress. Want to get started? Join us for a demo or career chat over a cup of coffee at our Andheri branch. ExcelR. We don't just train, we build careers.
Yes, so the collaboration with ExcelR was an excellent one. We conducted a Power BI workshop with Advanced Excel over a span of 3 days. The workshop was almost 12 hours long in total. Mr. Karthik, who was an amazing trainer, helped the students understand the concepts deeply. I am sure that the students will be able to apply these concepts in their careers as well as their daily lives.
The trainer, Mr. Karthik, was an excellent person where he explained in very detailed manner on how to give great insights using very complex data sets.
So it was a machine learning workshop. We learned a lot from the course and it was a great experience attending the workshop.
The trainer was very helpful. He had a hands-on approach with his teaching and it was fabulous.
This was a great experience for me. So I would absolutely love it if ExcelR and its team would come again to our campus and conduct more events like this.
It was a great course and it started from basics and took me to a great extent.
The experience of the workshop was really nice. The feedback from all the students was positive. They understood the concept. The workshop was also practical based with some questions. The experience with ExcelR was very smooth. They helped us in conducting the workshop smoothly right from the booking of the vendor and deciding the course till the distribution of certificates. In overall, this workshop was a success during our Technical Fest Atmos, and I thank ExcelR for being a part of it.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good morning, students. Yes, Samita, you can start the session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So, yes, hello, everyone. So, we'll start the session in a while. Let's discuss what we were pending and what few things have come up yesterday. Did anybody try with few things? Yes. Did anybody try with few things? Now, let me ask you a question over here. So we were discussing about, now we had a clear idea on how the request response cycle will be handled at the backend using the node, right? So we were discussing about node, and now we have an idea that node is nothing but a runtime environment. It has a package manager. It helps us to create servers, and it helps us to do the things in a smoother way with the packages that it has. With the published packages, we can, instead of rewriting the code, we can, reuse them, right? So with that, we came to understand that node has lot many modules like this, right? So I've asked you, like I have shown you, like these are the core modules that are present, where we were discussing about few of them. So it supports a lot of things to create the backend applications, basically, right? So everything is handled internally because of these particular packages we came to understand, right? So with that, why we need Express? We got to know, understand why we need Express, right? What is the use of Express, basically, and its advantages. With that, we came to understand that whenever we create a server, what happened? Internally, we have to set many things. Okay, we have to set many things. For example, today I'm going to tell you on when you start reading a particular file. Okay, if you want to send an HTML file to render out on the browser as a response, so you have to write lot many lines of code to do those functionality to happen. But whereas Express, you will understand the difference when you see the code by creating the server with only Node and seeing the difference when you create with Express. Already we have seen that is nothing but get, put, which we have tried to create the root nodes, or you can say that is endpoints to, send as a response. When the request has sent by the client, the response that the server is going to send is through these endpoints. So that made easy. So the routing is made easy using the Express framework, we came to understand, right? So we were discussing about these all things while we were discussing about few of the packages, right? So we understood how to install, the published package, like for example, Chalk. Then we came to understand what is HTTP, right? We came to understand what is REST API, right? What is the architecture that it follows, right? So the architecture that the REST follows, right? I was showing you these all things, like how internally the things will happen when we talk about REST API, right? So we understood what is HTTP core module in Node.js, what is the architecture that Node follows as well, right? So these things we came to understand. We will have an overview of these things after we discuss few pointers today, right? So that was all about when we were discussing about Node, with Express and Node, simultaneously at the same time. I told you, like there are two ways of installing the packages. So due to some times, whenever you are switching with multiple concepts, you need to take care of few things. Also the folder structure. So yesterday when we were working, the folder structure were also giving a problem. So that's, I guess, few of them have worked with it. If not, like I'll show you on how that those kind of problems. So you came to understand what kind of problems will be arised, right? So such kind of problems can be, resolved by looking at what we are working out and how Node helps us as well by bringing them into right folder structure. So the right folder structure is also very important, right? So as you came to know that there are two, you can say the modules that you can use, right? That is nothing but ECMAScript modules and the common JS for installing the packages, right? So then we understood, like how the request and response is sent. So whenever we talk about request and response, it is nothing, the protocol that we are using is nothing but the hypertext transfer protocol. So it is having internally its own rules and regulation or standards to make the client's message understandable to the server and server's response understandable to the client. Okay, there are many things that we need to set up when we are trying to work only with the node. For example, yesterday we were checking, like we were trying to set the headers like content type. We can set these all kind of, if you do not set it as well right now, you could see the thing when it is response is sent to the browser. So it is, depends upon the thing what all you want to set it. By default, few things will be automatically set, right? We were discussing about FS module, and I was telling you the difference between read file and read file sync. So we will see that was the folder structure which was not working. So it's very important to work on the folder structure as well. It was not pointing to the right error, but it was, in that way, you have to keep on checking, right? You will come to understand what kind of errors will come up and how to resolve them, right? So these were the things I told you, how the events are handled. What is an event at the back end? What is an event at the front end? These all things you came to understand. So while I discuss with these pointers again, and I will show you how you can resolve those things and come to understand what it is. Then later we'll understand what is Express again. We'll have a recap, and then we will create the server, and then I'll show you the difference on how it is going to help us. Okay. So while we come over here, so if you observe, what was the thing that I was trying to tell you in the last session, that this is a package that I am trying to create it. That is nothing but the circle.js. Now you can see over here, when I try to create this and I have created a particular method, or you can say the function over here, and it is nothing but an arrow function, right? So here it is nothing but a circumference and the area, two functions I have created, and I have exported them. If you do not export as well, it gives an error, right? Because if you do not export, you cannot able to import it. So right now I'm trying to import it. Now, so we are just using that package that we have created, right? So what was the error that it was showing up? Did anybody work on this? Yes. Did anybody work on this? So when we say it is nothing but, the area of circle is undefined. Now tell me what was that it was showing undefined. So most of you are into this thing as well, right? So when we understand this is nothing but, I left it yesterday because I wanted to ask like how the things will happen. What has happened over here in that case? Why it is showing undefined? So we'll start from the scratch, like wherever the pointers, how the folder structure that we have missed, and that I wanted to show you like how the things will happen when you come across these kind of errors, right? So now you can see over here where we can observe that this is a plain JavaScript, right? Or ES6 version of JavaScript that we were trying to write the function using the arrow function. Now there is a saying in arrow functions that whenever we try to have one statement, right, we can skip the curly brackets, right? Also, if we are trying to give the curly brackets, then we have to do few things, right? So what is that? Area is nothing but pi r square. So whenever you are saying r square, it is nothing but you can give double stars, right? So as soon as I have removed this particular curly brackets, it means it has given the area of the circle using this particular radius, that is 4, right? So what does it mean? It means whenever we are trying to use arrow function, we have to use this. If you use the set of curly brackets, then you have to return it. Okay, either you have to return the value or you have to skip those things, either of the one. So this way you understood like how to, bring this particular packages, how to use the packages that we have written. By this, what happens? We are modularizing the things, right? We can reuse the things. It's just a simple example over here. But when we write the modules, when we write the files or, the code in this modularized way, what happens? Wherever we want, we can import these packages like this, right? So that is one thing. After that, we were discussing about the file structure. I mean, reading of the files, right? So as I've told you, FS is also a, let me stop this. FS is also a core module, right? Like HTTP module, I was about to tell you about the FS module, that is nothing but file system. Now, what does it mean? File system is nothing but reading, all operations which are related to the files. Okay. So, for example, if we want to use this file system and I have created a particular file over here. So, for example, I have created this first.txt, right? So what did I say? In the file system, we have these many methods, okay? These many methods that we can use. So in that case, let's try to use, we have two ways of reading the files, right? So read file and read file sync. So if we use read file as a method, right? So in that case, what does it mean? It is going to take the path as well as, now it is very important, as there were many folder structures. If you're trying to read it, what happens? It won't be able to, it will give some other error which is not pointing to the right one as well, right? So in that case, that would be confused. So it means you have to be back of that. You might face these kind of errors whenever you're trying to use all these, new way of writing the code using the Node or Express, right? So read file, it means we have to give the path of the file that we want to read first, right? So whenever we say this, we have dot slash, that is nothing but in the current directory. We have some file called first.txt, right? So after this, what did I say? We have to give the character set that it should try to, read the file. So internally, while reading these things, it is going to use some other module called buffer as well. Okay. So that is nothing but UTF-8 is the one that we are going to use. And as it is not a, synchronous file, right? So it is nothing but, so if you are trying to read it, right, read the file. So synchronous is nothing but at the same time, after finishing reading the file, only then it is going to go to the next line. So if we first look at the synchronous ones, okay, and what we have done, whenever we say synchronous, it means after finishing of reading this file, only then it will go to the next statement. Okay, only then it will go to the next statement. So for example, console.log, let us console few things so that you will understand. Okay, so I have made few files over here, few console statements over here. So you can observe what it is going to do. So we have this much. Now, whenever we read a file, again, we can store it in a variable, right? So only then we can see the content, what it has read. Either whenever you use with server, you can send it as a response as well, right? Now what we will do, we'll try to read this. So for example, it is nothing but the file one, right? So this way, what we can do, read file synchronously. So after reading this particular file, only then it is going to send this particular response. So for example, this is nothing but after. So once we try to use this and check it, so this is how it is going to work. So the file name is so you can observe over here what it has happened is, so the first statement that it has read is nothing but before reading, right? After that, whatever the content I have written inside that .txt file, it has read it and gave the response. And then and only then the next line of statement, that is nothing but the console statement that we have written after the console of file, right? File reading, that has been printed. So it means it is going synchronous fashion, right? So this way of reading the file is nothing but synchronous. Now, whenever you say asynchronous, right? So asynchronous means we know that, let me just try to put these things. Okay. So now we have asynchronous. So whenever we say asynchronous, we know that there should be some callbacks, right? So there should be some callbacks. So how that things are handled, it is nothing but there is a particular, the request and you can say the response. So in that case, you can handle the request and response whenever you are trying to work with, this particular request and response using the server as well. But for example, here we can say it is nothing but error callback, error first callback. You can call it as error first callback. Okay. So as we are trying to write a callback over here, if there is some error, okay, if there is some error, it is going to show the error, else it is going to read the data that it has read. So this is how you are going to check it on how the asynchronous reading of the file is going to happen. So once it is done, now you can send the response. Internally you can have the callbacks again, within this particular callback. So you can send the response and you can check it whenever you're working with the server. So likewise, you can understand making the things to work with HTTP server will be a lot of big files that you have to write or lines of code that you have to write, and then only you will be able to work with the things. Now this is called as error first callback. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to console these statements, right? So if there is no error, what we want, whatever the data was read, we want to print it. So this way, if you're trying to work on these, so let me try to pause this now. So you can observe over here, if I try to work on these particular ones, right? So in that case, what I'm trying to do, if I try to remove this, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to read this particular file, right? So this is asynchronous way of reading the file. So whenever we say read file, it is nothing but it will take a callback, right? So now if we try to check it, okay, if you try to check with these things, then what happens? It is trying to read these two console statements first. First, it has started reading the before reading first and before reading second, right? And then it started reading the entire file of the one that we have passed as a path, right? So this is how it is going to work. And similar fashion, the other functions or the other methods like writing, write file and write file sync as well are going to work. Okay. So likewise, you can work with file system module and try to work, reading the file. These are nothing but the events at the backend. You can call them these as well as events. I hope this was clear. So with the file structure, if this particular file or the other file is present inside the other, the folder, in that case, few things will not be working. And it is very important. If, for example, if I give a sync over here, okay, if I give a particular file sync over here, then what happens? If you're trying to read, so it will stop, it will not try to, execute any kind of thing. Either it will try to, just try to exit it out of it, and it is not even showing the right error for us. Whereas file sync is nothing but synchronously. So it won't be able to work when we are trying to give the callback. And it is very important to understand what is the difference between these particular methods. So that was all about the file system. And now, yesterday we were working with the APIs. We have created the APIs, right? So where we understood how to create an API, we understood the use of the Express, right? Now I wanted to show you like how the put, or you can say the post API that we have created will be working, right? So for that, we can use one of the middleware called body parser. Okay, as we are working with JSON, it is needed that we can use the JSON with the body parser because we can send that. Now, whenever you are saying URL encoded extended true, it means we can send the form data by using few applications. If the front end is ready, then whatever the user is clicking at the UI part, okay, the page, those things will be encoded as a form element, or you can say form values, and then those will be passed over here, And what happens, this backend application can read them and then populate the values accordingly, update the things based on the routes. But the thing is, right now we do not have the front-end application. That is the reason yesterday I've told you that we have to work with few testing tools. You can say we can test our APIs using few tools like Thunder Client, and you can say the Postman. There are many things that are available. So I will show you on how to work with the Postman ones. Okay, so let me show you. So this was the dummy data that we have taken. That is nothing but the customers, which is an array. And it is nothing but, you can say this is a title, or you can say the name of that customer and the ID, right? So likewise, here we have, whenever we, using with the get request, so it obviously reads that particular and sends the response. There is no problem in that. But working with post, it doesn't show you on the browser because of the things that I have told you, right? So to make that things, we can send the data from the tool through the body as a JSON format, or we can send the data in the form of form elements as well. Okay, so let me show you. Let me try to. Yes. Okay. Just let me try to. Fine. So you can see over here, we have an application. Okay. I think I have done some updates, so I couldn't open it yesterday over here. Fine. So you can see over here, this is a tool where we can test our APIs. So whenever you try to sign up, you can create your own collections. And then what you can do, whenever you click on this, you can create your own collections, and then you can come up with, you can open as many tabs as you want to use the verbs. From here, you can use all the verbs, that you want to test for your APIs, and then give the link over here. So as soon as you send, what happens? It is going to give the response based on the URL endpoint. So for that, let me just come over here. So whatever we have created yesterday, I've told you we can create multiple endpoints like this, and then, keep on working for the functionalities that we want to add for our application, instead of creating the server in this way and writing lines of codes, number of lines of code based on the, different things that we want to work, or different functionality that we want to add, right? So this way, so let me show you on how the get is going to work in this application first, and then we'll work on the post ones. So over here, fine. So what is that? So we have this particular MERN Express server running over here. And do we have the, okay. So as we have 3000 over here, right? So local host, so 3000 we can give it. So whenever we try to give our, the URL that we are trying to give, so we can give it in this format. Always we have to give it in this format. Okay. So that is nothing but http://localhost:3000. So this way we have to give it. Once you give this much, what happens if you click enter? So this is nothing but the root node or root endpoint that we see, right? So whenever we try to work on this, it is saying here is the first API that we have created. So that is a root node. So whenever we give these strings beside that, that is nothing but the about or customers. What it is going to do, as we are using only get, right? So we can just try to extend it and try to get the next page as a response. So this is the request we are sending, and the other one is the response we are getting in the console statement, right? So we can view them in different ways. So likewise, okay. So whenever we, right now we have created a customers as an array over here. So in that case, what happens? we should get the response as that particular array over here, right? So we should get it as an object. So what is the route for that? It is nothing but the customers. So if we go over here and try to update this with the customers, so in that case, what we are going to get it? We are going to get the array that we have sent as a, the array that we have initiated, hard coded over there, it is being sent as a response, right? So this is about the get. So where we could see the get things in the browser as well. But working with post, we have to do few things, because let me tell you, yesterday I was also discussing about one point that you can send some details from the parameters. Now it is not that you cannot, send some values with the get request. So get request, if you're trying to send it, for example, email, password, it is not the right way. It is not secure, because get request can be read and the values can be, used, and that could be acted like you. So it is very much necessary not to send secure data through these parameters, right? Which is called as dynamic routing, right? So when we send the particular values from here, in that case, it is not secure. So we do not use get. How do we send the values then? We use post whenever we want to send some secure data to the server, right? So with that, the server will be able to understand, and then it is going to give the response based on that. So for showing this particular post, or to understand how the post, using post, HTTP post, how we can send, how we can send the data and then get the response from the server, right? So for example, we have clicked on a particular form on the front end, right? So those values can be sent using this post, HTTP post work. And whenever we want to send some values, we can go to the body and try to send the values like this using the form data. Or whenever we want to send some JSON format, then what we can do, we can go to the raw over here and try to send it as a JSON way of object, right? So these are the ways. So few things that you want to, read to the parameters. Okay, you want to send as a parameters, request.params that I will be showing you over here, where we can use in the Express. These are like, ways of, sending or reading the data, making the client and server to be understandable what they want to send the messages. These are the ways that we can send few things, right? So that the one that I've talked about was authorization. So the middlewares that Express supports. Through all these things, you can test using this particular Postman. Okay. So for now, as we want to send the JSON data, right? So let us try to check it. So let me try to send it as a form data, thinking that I have typed these values inside some input type text and input type, some number. So thinking that these are the values that are there in the front end, I'm trying to send the tag name, element name in the HTML and its value, element name in the HTML and its value. So likewise, if I type these values over here, right? Now you can see the link over here is nothing but, the route link is nothing but the post. Now, how we can send? Whenever we are trying to use HTTP post, it means everything that we are trying to, as soon as we hit a particular link, I have told you, right? As soon as we are trying to hit a particular link, what did I say in the very first beginning day? That whenever you try to, send a request, all the details that are related to you will be sent to the server, right? So it means it won't be sent to the server when it is HTTP. But what the server is going to do, it is going to send you a cookie and a session will be created. Now, every time the session, every time the user is requesting some other page, that cookie is going to go to the server and understand that this is a user who has requested me the next page, right? So in that case, if you try to send this, as soon as you send, some information is stored. So it means something you are sending with your request, something you are sending with your request. Okay. So the details about the client are present inside this request. Okay. So request.body, if you try to check it, okay. So in that case, with that request body, you can send these kind of values as well. Okay. So by sending these values, what will happen? We can try to, update our records or update our databases over here. So I wanted to show you a few things, simple way over here. So that is the reason. Let me just try to show you on how these things will work first. So as I'm trying to click on this, so let me show you, this doesn't populate over here right now. Okay. So as you could see over here, I have stopped the response.send. I have not used any of the methods like response.send or JSON. It won't show you the result in the Postman. But right now you can see as soon as I have sent something, you could see the console statement that it is showing is nothing but the value that we are trying to send, right? Now, if I try to repeat this particular line and if I show you something, okay, so if I show you something over here, so if I try to hit it, if I try to, if I'm sending only post one, so in that case, you could see if I just try to say post one, using the post one, I'm sending whatever is there in the body and it is being to able rate from there, from the Postman tool, and it is nothing but giving us the console statement or a console log over here with the values that we are trying to send. So it means what we can do, we can send the values with the request body. Okay. So now once you try to, check with the request body, you can send these many kinds of, things that you can work with the request body. So if you can observe over here, we can check our URL, we can check the method, let me show you a few things. You can set, many things using this request body itself. You could see over here, what is that particular URL that we are working on? What is a post? You can update this, you can read this particular status code, and, you can do many things with the request body itself. So it means whenever we are requesting something with that request body, many things are sent to the server. Okay. So many information, much information is also sent to the server, right? So likewise, if you can check this one, this is a huge big data, right? Huge big data. So there is huge big data inside the request body. So that you came to understand. Now, as we want to send as a JSON, the form data, right? So the form data can be sent using this particular body that we are trying to send it. So if you're trying to send the JSON as well, you can choose the JSON over here and then we can send it, right? So I have sent some values, hard-coded values over there, and that is nothing but, and what we want to do now, we want to update our customers array that we have created on the top, right? So as we want to update that particular array that we have created on the top, what we can do, we can use the normal push method in the JavaScript and we can update it. What we want to do, we want to push with the request.body, that is a new value. And at the end, what we can do, we can try to print the JSON format of that particular customers array as we were doing earlier. Now, once you try to click it, what happens? It is being created, and then what it is doing, it is sending us the JSON value over here, right? So if you are sending more data, it is going to create and update the customer and push the new record. Because it is a push, it is nothing but adding at the end of that particular array. So like this, we can work using different HTTP verbs. Put is nothing but it is going to update the value, but it is totally going to create a new record over there. Whereas patch, if you want to, update the name of the customer, it will only change the name of the customer, but the ID, it is not recreating the object over there. So there are few differences that you can just try to, understand more about these CRUD operations. So if you say delete, it means, so for working these all things, we have to send using the parameters. Like I've told you, we can send the data using the parameters, right? Based on like which record we want to delete or which record we want to update or patch it, we can send those details. So in this way, we can work with APIs. Now I guess you had an idea on how we can create the APIs like this. That is nothing but the endpoints. So for different things, we can now, you could understand that we are plainly working on how we can send the request and get the response from the server. So our main work or focus by using Express will be mostly on how to work with the request and response for that particular application and add more features using multiple middlewares that are present in the Express. Now, did we do anything over here? The body parser itself is connecting with this particular Express, and internally Express is nothing but using the node itself, right? So likewise, we have many and many middlewares that are present in the Express. So if you can see over here, you can go through this particular document and try to understand much more in detail about it. You'll get an idea of what you're going to use, what kind of middlewares that you're going to use. All right. So if I show you, like, what is a middleware? It is nothing but a function. Okay. So in the middle, like, you can handle many things. So it will have the access to the request and the response object. Okay. Whereas it will also have some next inside it. So it means before running any of the route, okay, before running any of the route, we can use these middlewares. For example, here we are using the use is also a middleware. Okay. So before running any of the route, we can use these middlewares and manipulate much of the data accordingly, right? So likewise, before running any of the route, it means before running the root route, those particular middlewares will run, all the middlewares. Okay, before running this route as well, the data till here will be run till all the middlewares work up and do their activity, and then only this particular ones will start running. So basically, we can do many things using these middlewares, which supports a lot for the Express applications, making the things more easier. So what is a middleware? It is nothing but a function which is having access to the request and response object, and as well as it will run. I mean, internally, it can handle many things and go to the next line of code in that way, right? So this way, Express will make the things more easy. And here you could see we have used a middleware called body parser. Then only we could send the data from the form. Otherwise, if you do not use this, it won't be able to send, and obviously will not be able to check the output right now. So making the things over here to be more easy, we have used a particular middleware because we are working with Express. I hope this was clear on how to work with the routes and create the APIs. Now, what are these? These are nothing but the REST APIs. These follow the REST API architecture, right? So this is how we have worked with the REST API. And let me show you now the difference. As you have worked with the Express way of creating the server, now let me show you on how the things will work when we are working with plain HTTP module. Okay. So now yesterday, we have seen over here that we were trying to use the HTTP module and trying to send some HTML file over here, right? So we have used the set header. We have understood about few methods like write header. Using set header, we can set many things. As I've told you just now, we can set many things, right? So likewise, a response.write is nothing but it is a method which writes something to the stream, is nothing but to that particular connection. And then at the end, once it is, the stream is streamlined, and then we can end that particular request response cycle. This is how we'll be working. In the middle, we can do many things. And when we want to add multiple functionalities to the application, we have to, work in the middle, like before writing this particular response.end method, we can add multiple features between these. Okay. So for example, this is a particular, a simple tag kind of, P tag, right? Let me show you the difference now, how difficult it would be if we try to work with only the HTTP server. So this is the server that we are trying to run. Let me close this particular ones. Okay. So as we are using the port 3000, So this was the HTML file that we were trying to send it, right? So likewise, over here, I have created some file called index.html. Okay. So the folder structure, again, there are many, I can say, modules that we can use. There are many middlewares that we can use and set few things. So by using those, it makes the folder structure very neat and clean. It increases the readability. The many middlewares that supports that as well. For now, we have written a simple HTML file over here, right? So now what we will do to make the things work with the normal server, what we have to do is, if we are trying to read this particular file, so to make this particular file in our folder structure to read it, we have to use the fs module. Okay. So like just now we have worked with it. So require node fs, right? Node fs. Now yesterday I've told you if you want to work with file structure, when way of writing the code would be in terms of promises, we can use this. Okay. So where we are trying to work with this. So what did I say just now? Whenever we are trying to work with fs module, we can use this. We are reading the file again, right? So read file. Okay. So read file. And if we are trying to read the file synchronously or asynchronously, right? So in that case, just now we have seen we were trying to read the file. Now what is that you will give over here? So that is nothing but the index. This is the file that we want to read. So because it is a big file, so this is the way that we have to work whenever we are creating the server in this way. Okay, server using HTTP module. So UTF-8, the one that we were using to read this particular content. Now, you know that as it is a synchronous, right? So as it is a synchronous, what happens? We do not want any particular error callback. So then simply we can send the response, right? If you're working with the asynchronous way of writing the code, then we have to write the error first callback, right? So we have, and what we can do, we can store it in a particular variable as we have just done now. After that, what happens? After that, what happens? Okay, we have our file. Now what we can do, we can send the response. So that is nothing but we can write it into the stream as we know, right? So what we can write the file that we have just read. Okay, so then only then we can try to end that particular request response. So this is how we can work. Now once we try to check it, what will be there? So whatever we have created as an HTML file, you will be able to read that. I mean, that particular file is read, sent through the stream, and then the response is ended. This is how we can work. And if now you can observe, if you try to work with multiple things and maintain that request or you can say the connection between the client and server, you have to work with multiple lines of code in the middle. Okay, so that to support those all things and work only with the routes, so you feel like you are doing the same thing every time. But by that, what happens? The express, or you can say the way of handling the things, HTTP standardized, the protocols or the rules that it follows. That once the request is sent, the response is sent, the session will be ended over there. So it means whenever the next request is sent, the cookies data will be sent to the server. Only then the server will be able to understand, okay, this is the user who has already requested, I mean, who was the earlier one, and then it sends the response to that particular, client itself. That is how the things will happen with the HTTP protocol and, by REST API architectures, right? I hope this was clear on how to work with this. Any doubt till here? So I have made you understand about the basics on how the things will work when we are using Node. And as Node is having capabilities, but it itself will take lot many things and the lines of code will increase. So with that support of Express as a framework. Now, what is a framework as well we discussed? Let me repeat it. So a framework is nothing but which follows a particular flow of structure of writing the code. Okay. So it gives us a flow of structure, but we can do it in our own way. It is an unopinionated. It means we can write the code in our own way, but the very first thing that we have to do is for example, okay, we have to require it only then we have to create the app. Only then if you are trying to send the JSON format, or trying to use the Express with the JSON, trying to use few middlewares, then in that case you have to write all the middlewares in the middle. After that only you can create the routes. So this is a flow, but the way of writing or way of creating the routes depends upon the developer, how he or she wants to do that. So there is a flow structure that we have to follow using the Express. So that is the reason it is a framework, and it is an unopinionated. It means we can write in our own, we can implement them in our own way. So that was all about the, how Express helps us to make the things bit easier, right? So that is the reason I've told you the faster server development or, server side development will be made. It uses a lot of middlewares. You understood what is middleware. You understood how the routing is made easy, right? So these all are supported with the Express. There are many things that will be working on how to, work with the dynamic routes, on how to, make the things work as JavaScript at the back end. You'll become to understand about those things. So this is all about. Any doubts still here? Any doubts still here? Yes, anybody who wants to ask anything? Any doubts? So did you get any idea on how the things will come up and how to create the backend application using Node and Express? If you're not willing to, or you're not able to open up and unmute yourself and say, you can send a message as well. Okay. Yes. Yes, Tanush. What about you, Priya and Kishore, Riharika? Anything was any doubt till here that we have discussed? There are many things that that come up with the middlewares, how to use them, you know. Yes, Saumya, Sai Krishna. Meghna, right? Yes. If you are all clear. Okay. So, Chandana, I guess that was all clear.
Okay. So if you are done, means I will wind up the session.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you for all these day sessions.
Thank you. Thank you,
Students were-
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, students, for joining the sessions. Okay, you can continue with your recording sessions. Okay. So our 5 days workshop got finished. Thank you.